Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so very much.
First things first, your overall impression of this media briefing yesterday.
I think the idea was for the president really to sum up what has happened until now, since the last time that he spoke to the nation through the State of the Nation address. You would have seen that he gave preliminary comments. The idea was that the ministers were going to explain in detail what they have accomplished during the period under review, which they did. What you have is sometimes a lack of understanding is really what constitutes development, what is tangible, and I think we lose sight of that. Mostly we jump to the conclusion that we've not done anything without having to do a bit of research, and I think that's why you're here to respond to that.
Yeah, definitely we'll cite those examples in as we continue this interview. But mainly, the president's speech, was received with mixed opinions. Some were for the speech, some were against it. In particular, just to set an example, we had a political analyst yesterday in studio, Mr. Richie Tende, who pretty much rather found the speech unmatching in regards to, revival, stating that not much has been improved or strengthened, making an example of the youth unemployment, poverty and hunger. What are your views in that aspect?
In our democratic space, everyone has a prerogative of opinion. So accept that we're going to have people who have opinion, but those opinions also, there should be some element of truth and research in it, so that whoever listens to them, they can understand what it is that is being criticized. It's not enough just to say it was not good enough, it didn't match whatever the expectations were. You have to point out what was not done so that then you can hold government accountable. There were many things that were done already from April to yesterday. The president addressed the press conference. For instance, if you look at the health sector. Clinics are being built. Two are being built in Zambezi, two in Hangwena. The hospital in Ochivarongo has been upgraded. Katuturu Hospital, part of it is being renovated as well. There are many examples. If you look at education, 510 classrooms are being built and 74 ablution facilities in those schools. If you look on the agricultural sector, 93 boreholes have been drilled. Many other 53 of those, 53 of those are being installed. Because the genesis of that is that everybody must have water, and water is being provided. Of course, we know the challenges that are there. If that is a criticism, then it's understandable. All right. Not to say that things have not happened. Look what the Minister of Home Affairs has done with respect to the production of national document. Your passport, you get it between 3 and 4 days. In case of emergency, you get your passport in 3 hours. Previously, you moved between now and Botswana using a passport. You can move with your ID now. For those who live at the border post, that's a big deal. If you live in Impalila Island, people move there every hour in Tukasana, in Tukasika. So a passport was not sustainable, but people now can move very easily. Look at the construction of roads. Right. The road from here to the airport is being built. I mean, we see the expansions here too. You can go tomorrow and touch it. As President Pohamba will say, go and sleep in the middle of the road. It's blocked. No car will hit you. The road from Hobabis to Aminios, it's been extended now up to Aranos in Haradab region. There's an upgrade of Mariental Seis Road in the south. If you get into Impalira Island, there's a road that's being built there. Also, if you are in Sandy, that road to Ongurumbashe, that road is being built. So these are things that you can actually see. If you look at on the green scheme side of things, Vunguvungu, Sikongo, Shadikongoro, they were previously dormant, but the government has taken a deliberate decision to revive those, so that activities can take place. One, you create employment. Agriculture has a benefit of creating more jobs than in comparison to the others. So that's why there's a serious investment in those. Right. I'm glad you outlined all those areas and those aspects, because the head of state pretty much confidently expressed himself on, around shared prosperity, inclusivity, economic growth. But some will still argue with some of those employment, initiatives that you outlined. They'll still argue, is there really prosperity
for all, shared prosperity for all. I mean, there's discontent, you know, across Namibia. They'll still say that, in your view, really, in terms of economic growth, what would support the president's statement in that regard?
You talk about economic growth. The economy itself is growing by 3.5%. I mean, we are coming from COVID, and the challenges we had just before COVID. So it shows that the economy is actually resilient. It's withstanding the pressure that the global economy is facing. As a result of that, you saw the Minister of Finance actually announcing the fact that the ceiling for income tax has been up to 100,000. So you don't pay income tax if you earn 100,000 or less. I mean, this is money that literally comes into the pocket of people. And I think you ought to appreciate that. 75% of schools, they've now wired with fiber. 72% of health facilities, they're connected with 4G. As a result, the Minister of Health and the Minister of Education, they're able to use technology, actually e-health and education in those facilities. This happened now. Our target with HPP2 was to have 4G connectivity 80%. We've actually exceeded that target. We are standing at 85% today, because government has taken a deliberate attempt to say, let's connect all the villages as far as we can. By 2030, there will not be a place in Namibia that does not have connectivity, because that is an attempt from us deliberately to ensure that it does happen. But since you're talking about 2023, I'm singling out what has been done in terms of infrastructure, in terms of green schemes that have been revived, in terms of the roads that have been completed or that are being built.
And I understand that, because these are all long-term, you know, initiatives. But really, with these timeframes that we have, to what extent are these really translating on the ground as to how many people are actually, you know, benefiting from all of this?
If you, by the way, the year is not even ending. The financial year will only end 31st March next year. So there's still how many months to go? 4 months to go. But we have already seen notable progress in many sectors. If you really want to measure whether people are able to move, I want to answer your question, then you can really interrupt as you wish. Yeah. The section from here to Okahanja, part of it is opened was a month ago. People, if you really want to see whether it's completed, you can drive there tomorrow and see for yourself. Obviously, some of the things, the planning stage may have taken place now. You may be able to see results sometimes next year, 2 years from today, or even 5 years. It doesn't mean that just because you didn't see a vehicle that is painted green, then there's no car that is being assembled.
Well, you already outlined or clarified what I was about to ask now, but just moving on really, just to further quote, the political analyst we had in studio again yesterday, when it comes to the question of the Southern African Custom Union, what the president really expressed concern in regard to the future of the customs union, about it hampering Namibia's industrialization, citing, of course, the Pidgio plan that we just spoke before we came on set as a case in point, should have directed that all cars be bought from the Pidgio plan instead of acquiring the German-made luxury vehicles currently making up the bulk of the government fleet. What is your opinion in that regard?
For a start, government is already procuring vehicles from the Pidgio plant. You might have seen the Minister of Trade, I'm giving those that I'm able to recall now. The police, they've acquired a fleet from Pidgio. But the point the president was making is not that government is not buying from there. It's only to open up the SACCO market in such a manner that any member state of SACCO can actually acquire vehicles directly from whoever. South Africa doesn't manufacture these cars. They assemble them there. Mercedes-Benz is a German car, and so is BMW. Toyota is produced in Japan. So that's a larger point to say we need to open up the market so that we don't go through another country for us to be able to acquire.
But what are those issues that are hampering that, to unfold?
The president was very clear yesterday. He wasn't going to go into the details as what those discussions are, and I venture not to enter into the debate now. Suffice to say, when the president is ready to announce that, he will announce that. But there are ongoing discussions now. From his vantage yesterday, he's already expressed an opinion that there is a good understanding among member states, especially Botswana, that has economy almost the size as ours, that is almost a population the size of ours. So there is that understanding, and when the heads of state are ready to make a decision, they will make a decision. But there is understanding from government to say it's not working as it should. That's why there's been some discussions at the bilateral level. First, to gauge the appetite of South Africa to have these conversations with the rest of the member states of SACO, so that we come to a common position that will appease at least the majority of members of the union.
Is there any way, because I know you mentioned that the financial year is not over yet, but is there any way that we collectively, like the president has, emphasized on many occasions, that we can speed up collectively implementation for people to benefit what Namibia, has to offer?
Firstly, we are enjoying some of the fruits of what government has intended. If the argument is that it's not enough, we can debate about it, but not to say that there's nothing that has been done. So definitely. I think that's where the difference of opinion comes in. And I see that people are using the words like it's rhetoric. It's not rhetoric. I've done an entire PhD on rhetoric. So that is a subject which I understand very well. So if we really have issues to point up, at least do a bit of research, point us so we can see that maybe there's something that we are missing. As government, we do listen. Look at the maternity leave that has been extended. Even the payment of public servants now, they will get a full salary when they are maintenance. I mean, when people speak, government listen, and we adjust the strategies as our capabilities allows.
Dr. Mathe, anything else you'd like to add in regards to the speech in particular?
Only to say that we appreciate the criticism, but criticism must be embedded in fact, because if things that are not true are being exposed to the public, there are those who may fall prey to it and believe things that are not fact-checked. It's incumbent upon you as journalists to have an appreciation to say that when someone is giving you information, you ought to fact-check on the spot, because the danger is that, as I say, someone will pick false information, then spread it even further. So the understanding is that is what was said last. As you have seen in your bulletin yesterday, the media conference ran fast. Then we had someone to respond to it. And the impression that was created is that what your analyst said is in fact what is the truth. We are in government. Any researcher can pick up the phone, call the ED of any ministry and say, how many schools are you building? So when they do analysis, then they will be speaking from a position of being informed than to have read an article in the newspaper or an opinion piece, then recast that as an analysis. I think commentary must go beyond what we see in the headlines. It has to be research-based so that it creates depth, but also understand it assists us when we see this argument is merit, are we able to adjust our strategies, and we've done so when it was required to.
Right. Well, MICT ED, Dr. Audrin Mathe, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for your analysis, or basically for balancing the situation that you just mentioned.
Thank you.
All right.